I'm DaJuan Johnson, and I'm excited to introduce you to my Think Bigger Actor podcast, where I'm going to share with you different kinds of talks and coachings and conversations with actors and industry professionals on thinking bigger. I hope these conversations will help you on your path to success, because I believe success is an inside job that starts with your mindset and the thoughts you hold dominant in your mind. Change your thoughts and you change your world. Your path to thinking bigger begins now. Greg Archibald, how you doing?
I'm good, DaJuan. How are you, buddy?
I just had this little laugh in my head. I was thinking, sometimes I text you and I'm just like, Archibald, and like I've never used.
And you're the only person that has ever done that in my entire life. And you're the only person that I think I would let do that and get away with that.
I apologize.
It's funny. No, it's really funny. It's really funny. It's endearing, right?
It is very.
It's fun.
It is. It's meant that way. It's meant that way. So,
and it's the first time in my life. No one has ever done that, which surprises me. I've been called Arch before, but to be called Archibald in that way is very very funny to me. So it's good.
It's probably like my Southern roots coming out too. You know how you always say a little bit of Mister. For someone is just a little bit older and stuff, and so it's like a compromise in my head. But I am so excited to have you on. We have been through. I've had you on for the Think Bigger Summit, and it has just warmed my heart. That was before a lot of things happened. In the world, there's been a pandemic. We were going into the pandemic, I think, when we did the summit, but also, before I started working with you in a public forum. I did many years with you in private. And then, I moved over into that space. And so just like before, I low key want to keep you to myself. But it's just every time I get you, I'm like, more people, all of my tribe needs to know about Craig, because I just think you're the bee's knees, man.
Well, thank you very much. That's very sweet of you. I appreciate your full endorsement. And I think it's like people find each other, right? Like-minded people find each other. And when you find those people that are like-minded with you, it's exciting and fun because there's freshness and there's an agreement, and even if we have small little, we challenge each other. And we make small little challenges. It's all with respect and love for what we're doing, and questioning and focusing and realigning, and those little beautiful conversations that are a little bit challenging, maybe, or just a question that goes on, spins you off in a new direction of creativity yourself, even just within a conversation about a movie that we have, and saying, how do I've got a bias against that actor because of that reason. How can I let them be free of that bias and enjoy their film work if I can really enjoy it? Because you said something, I'll think something, and then we spin like that. So finding the people of our own flock is always a nice and exciting moment.
I agree with that, but something I want to go back and just speaking of that you just said was we challenge each other. Do you think I challenged you? Wait, everybody listening, I am not a hard student to have.
Oh no, that's not what I wasn't saying that at all. I was saying in terms of us as a community at the Archibald studio, right? At the studio, not just you and me, but just like in class when we have a discussion. In particular, your Thursday night class is just so much fun. The discussions that go on, and the creativity, the talk of what are we doing, how are we creating, and that the ability to be in a safe environment to be able to express what you really feel and know that you're not going to be shamed or bullied because of it. That you can feel and say what you're feeling. It's a wonderful feeling to find a group of people that you feel comfortable with. So that's what I'm talking about. It's not at all about no, man, you're a treat to work with. You're great fun. But I find a lot of my clients are just really great, wonderful people to work with. It's the fun that we have, and it's a different feeling than the sort of hard, cold world of Hollywood. I know you deal with a lot of people that are younger actors that are coming up in the industry, and it can feel really hard and really cold. And it can feel really unfeeling, and you can feel very businessy. And I think that's one of the fun things about finding a studio that you love and a people that you appreciate and respect and that you can roll with. and finding your flock of people that you can be in this city, be in this industry, understand, and be able to talk about the things that matter to you.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I want to say this up front. I want to let everybody know that Craig wrote this book called The Actor's Mindset. We're going to get to this book in a little bit, but I want to, just say, hang on. I'll put the link below this chat before, wherever this is. But I want to talk to you personally about a couple of things. First, when I came to you, it's so interesting because the mindset guy, like you said, we attract people. When I came to you, I think I was at a little bit of a fever pitch, Craig. I was at in my head, like a little bit of a fever pitch. This isn't new to you, that I was like, I haven't booked, I'm on this show. I haven't booked. I want to book. And it took the pandemic for me to slow down, to realize that loop that was going over, that I had stepped out of the pocket. And this is nothing new on the podcast. I've talked about it, but I stepped out of the pocket of the character, or stepped out of the pocket of being vulnerable, stepped out of the pocket of looking in the eyes of my reader or that other character and really asking those important questions. So letting those emotions go. I was out of that. I just wanted to book. I just knew that I'd been on a show and I want to get to my next show. And there was this moment of clarity. I don't know if you remember it, but this moment of clarity where I was like, I need to play again. I need to have a little bit more fun. And I said, are you opening up class at any time? And you were like, actually, yes. And I was like, yes. So I guess, when we talk about mindset, do you see a lot of that with your actors or with actors when they get out of the pocket of let me ask the 25 questions, it's 20 questions, or instead, I just want to book. I just want to work. What do you see?
Well, I think that this is all of this is natural to what we're doing, right? It's all cyclical. And on the cycle of what you're going through, you're going to go through periods where you just want to book, and then you're going to go through periods where you just want to play, and you're going to find yourself between that, and that's going to go on and on and on for your whole career. Thank you, right? Isn't it wonderful that we get that for our whole career? Now, it's frustrating sometimes because you feel like, oh, I felt this way 5 years ago, but you're a different person now. It's like that stairway, metaphor of, it's always hard just before the next step, and then it's easy for a minute, and then it's hard again because you got to go up a step. That stairway metaphor really fits with our careers, because we get up over that hump, and then it's easy for a minute, and then, oh shit, we got to go again. Oops, I didn't know if I'm allowed to swear here.
We're doing it. We're doing it.
We're a little potty mouth, but or that moment of, oh crap, I've got to work hard again. I thought I'd already worked hard. I thought I'd done the work that I had to do. Sorry, no, and it just never ends. And that's part of the joy of our career. After a while, you sort of get into a rhythm of it and understand it. And instead of it being a burden, it becomes something that is opportunistic. And it's like, okay, what am I going to learn from this time through this? What am I going to learn? How can I be better? How can I allow myself to be vulnerable again and learn again? Because that's part of what life is the learning and being vulnerable and moving forward. And that goes for not just actors, that goes for all of us in life in general, right?
Well, our industry changes, right? I mean, there's a chapter in your book where you talk about Stanislavski. I've talked about that before, that, things have changed. We're not still doing the same thing they were doing, 30, 40, 50 years ago. It's evolved. And I think, so why wouldn't things evolve while I've been on a show for 7 years? Why wouldn't something, or why wouldn't, you want to get back and be vulnerable and play and have that muse come down? And, thank gosh you had a space where, one, you let my ego come into your space, and kind of not badger it, and just be like, come into the space and have fun. And it gives you a little bit of safety, and then ego goes away. So I want to say thank you in public about that, because that was a very sensitive place. I think for a lot of actors who are working, for a lot of actors that are working, it is a very sensitive, vulnerable space to walk into and feel like you're not going to be judged. I don't know if I put that. Yeah. I was
you put that really nicely. Yeah. Because I think that is what actors that aren't working a lot don't realize is that when you start working as an actor, it doesn't change who you are. You're still an actor. Yeah. Actors are actors, and that's why you see a lot of older actors really, pouring a lot of love on younger actors, because, it's like we realize over time, man, we're in this all together, and we're all we're all being artists, we're all being creatives, we're all making things work, we're doing our best, we're all learning lessons at different times. It's not a competition. It really is a long journey, and it's really a rewarding journey at the end of the day, if you can make it a rewarding journey for yourself, if you have the mindset of allowing yourself to be going through, accepting what you're going through, and allowing yourself to be going through it, and to have the team around you, whether it's your coach or your agent, your manager, your loved ones, whoever it is around you, that helps support you through the difficult times, and then know how to celebrate with the fun times, and remind you that hey, remember, this is a fun time.
I think
sometimes we need that.
We need it all the time. Probably need it all the time. I think just the tweak in the mindset or the perspective of, it wasn't anything that I was per se doing. I was just treating auditions totally different, and I think as soon as we switched to, I just want to say, having fun, getting a little bit more messy with the characters, all that. Once we really got in there, Craig, again, like, we saw instant, immediate, like, ROI, right? We started seeing that. And I don't want anybody to go out there and say, this is what happened. We have been working a lot together, but it's like going to a soccer game and thinking you're playing basketball.
Right.
I mean,
right.
that was a sports metaphor for Craig, you all. He watches sports, and I have no idea if that worked, but but
I am a sports fan, and that did work, by the way.
It did. Okay. But it's important, for that. So I just wanted to say that, there's one other thing that I am so fascinated by you. The more and more I get to know you, Greg, you've had this whole other, probably many other lives, but this whole other New York theater life, like this New York, and like you're not a name droppy person, but when you let us into these little worlds, I'm like, wow, he's had a whole life before even moving to Los Angeles. And the reason I'm bringing that up is because you don't fit that stereotype of a mean old theater professor or teacher or somebody that I have been with. I've had them in university, where they yell and you want fame kind of thing. Like, that's how did you escape that? Because that's not you.
I think it's because I came through it too. Right. I got yelled at too. So I went to the neighborhood playhouse and studied with Sandy Meisner, and I was around the actor studio in the early 90s, just after Lee Strasberg had passed. And so there was a lot of Lee still in the actor studio. And Sandy, that group of the group theater people, right? The people from the group theater, those actors, which is Stella Adler, Uta Hagen, Sandy Meisner, Lee Strasberg, Bobby Lewis, Herbert Berghoff, that group of greats from the last century, they all became the leading teachers, right? They not only were they the theater company of the 1930s on Broadway, but then they became the teachers of the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. And they were amazing, but they were hard people, and they came from a hard life. They were born and raised on the Lower East Side, a lot of them immigrant families that were really broke and had a really difficult time, 5 kids to a bed kind of thing, 10 people to a room kind of thing, and their upbringings were really tough. And then they became successful actors as a group with their sort of, with the group theater in the 1930s, when it was the Depression. And so, they came from a tough time, and they didn't have a lot of patience for babies or victims, right? And so they were tough on us, and they were tough for a reason. They were slapping people around and saying, hey, you want to be in this industry? It's really hard. Get used to it right now. And if you can't take me yelling at you in class, then you're not going to be able to handle it, because it's a big world and it's a hard world. And that was part of it. And sometimes I think they hit too hard. And I think that they hurt some people by doing that. And I saw some people, I never was personally hurt by a coach in that way. I was certainly yelled at. One of my favorite ones is, it was, how did it go? I just finished a scene, and Bob Modica, who was my teacher at the neighborhood playhouse, said, Craig, you prick with ears. And it was hilarious. I mean, it was just like, like, what are you calling me? But it was great because it really snapped me into, what is he saying? What and that was the meanest. But I did see people's art hearts get broken.
Yeah.
And I don't like that. I don't like art hearts getting broken. I think it's too important and we're too sensitive. And so that's the antithesis of what I do when I coach. Like, I really don't, that's not my journey isn't ever to break an art heart. That's just not my style.
Yeah.
I can't do that. And I'm a fellow actor. And the whole guru thing just drives me crazy. I hate the guru thing. Like, the teachers that need to be a guru. That just makes me nuts. It's like, why do you need to be a guru? It's just silly. It's not part of what we do. I look at my relationship with my clients as we're working together, right? This is like, it's almost like a sporting metaphor again, but it's like a basketball coach. I'm going to look at your skill set. I'm going to see how you are, what you're doing, what's going good for you and what isn't working for you. And I'll help you get where you need to get. And so it'll be fun for us to work together, as opposed to me being a guru that, knows everything and is Mr. Smarty Pants. That's boring. And then the only thing that can happen when you do that to someone, if you guru someone, the only thing that can happen is they're going to fall down, because they're going to be human. And at the end of the day, I'm going to be human. The guru will suddenly be human. Right. Yeah. You'll look at this guru that you've gurued for 10 years and you'll be like, oh man, he farts too. Right. And that's like, it'll be like, oh, he's just a person. And then that moment is really hard for the guru and for the client, because then it's like, oh, I'm not the person you thought I was. And now you're angry at me for being human. And then the devotee says, well, yeah, but you're not being who I thought you were. Right. And it's a mistake. It's a mistake. But so I don't even believe in that. And I try to knock that out of our system here completely from the get-go. It's like
literally the first thing you probably said to me.
Yeah.
Like, that was probably one of, I'm not looking to be, be anybody's guru, kind of, I'm paraphrasing, but it was like a collaboration. And it was like just something I kind of had never really heard from a, quote unquote teacher / coach, but it was like, we're going to collaborate here. And it's like, oh, you want to hear what I think about my artistry too, and then we could come up with this beautiful thing together. Was very beautiful. Was very, very, very beautiful. So I mean, I thank you, because there's a lot of people in all over. We won't pinpoint anybody, but that are really like, do it my way or don't do it. And I think that was soul crushing to me. Coming out of it, it kind of you talk about in the book how drugs and alcohol dampen your emotions and stuff like that. I think a bad teacher can do that as well.
Absolutely.
I think, and all of a sudden it takes you so long to get back to your own artistry once you've been in one of those environments, that it's like, who am I? So again, I think that's something that we do really well. You do really well. I guess one of the things I want to ask you is, you talk a lot about being a working actor. What is your definition of a working actor?
Oh, good question. No, I really like it. It's a great question. Because of course one could say, oh, a working actor is defined by the size of their, income every year. Oh, you're, if you're really a working actor, you're making so much money. And that just isn't the truth. I think that we get, Hollywood confuses things. The big business of Hollywood really confuses the world of art. And, what happened, prior to Hollywood, actors weren't actors. We were kind of like the circus clowns, like we were sort of the circus people that traveled from town to town, and we were sort of looked at as sort of, the lower side of society, right? Mm-hmm. Unless you were a star on Broadway, and even at that, you probably weren't that big included. You might have made it into the Players Club, but you weren't invited into the Harvard Club, right? So it, on a level in society, artists were very far down until you're famous, and then maybe then you're invited in. Then comes Hollywood, right? And Hollywood creates the star system, right? Because it's all to sell product, right? It's really just selling product. Right. And so it's a red carpet. A red carpet is a sales event. That's what a red carpet is. It's selling the product, and you're the product, and the movie's the product, and it's all the product, and it's all sell. And so what happened was that it got a little bit lopsided. It got a little out of joint, the whole idea of being an artist. So now you come up 100 years later, movies have been around, Hollywood is around, and you get this sort of like, oh, we're sort of celebrity status and we're up above the rest of the world, and it's sort of, we get this celebrity, and that means that you're successful and you're famous and you have money and life is wonderful and you're at the top of the chain. And that's just so not true anyway at the top of the chain. And nobody at the top of the chain thinks they're at the top of the chain. Everybody thinks that they're not at the top of the chain. Even when you're at the very top of the chain, you don't feel like you're at the top of the chain, or you're afraid of falling off the chain. So it's, there's a lot going on. But to answer your question specifically, it's about finding in the center of you, right, your happiness as an artist to be creative, right? And whether or not you're making money at it or not, it shouldn't really be the biggest concern. Of course, I want my clients to succeed. I want you to be working, but I think the focus is the difference, right? If you're focusing on, I've got to work, that's a dangerous place to be, because then you're going to be pushing and squeezing and pulling, and that's what they're going to see in the room. They're going to see somebody desperate, and nobody wants to work with desperation ever. Right? Desperation is not fun. Desperation isn't sexy. Desperation isn't a champion. Right? And so even if you're not making money doing your art right now, I still call you a successful actor. If you are getting up every day, you are working to your best of your ability to make yourself a complete and functioning actor. Right? And if you are working hard to make yourself that good artist that you know that you can be, I don't care if you're still working in a restaurant, you're a successful actor, right? Because you get up every day, you work on your art form, you show up, you do the work, you get your agent, you do your auditions, you do the classes, you're showing up and doing your artwork. That's a success, right? There's a lot of people that are working actors that are not successful, right? There's a lot of people that I don't think are successful in life. They're not having a successful life. They're having a horrible time.
What does that mean?
That means that there are people that are very successful and making a lot of money, and they're miserably unhappy. So is that success?
So many things, but that could be so many things, right? That they're not happy. Yeah. I don't know. I've never thought about it. I don't think that like once you start working, that's when you all of a sudden become happy, or that you all of a sudden, feel like a success. Again, I've talked about this on the show, the podcast, that when I was in my second season of Bosch, I thought I made it. And then I was like, but I still felt a little empty. And there was something that was not complete there. And I was like, oh, so is this the way it's going to be, that I'm chasing the dangling carrot? When I get the carrot, I'm still going to feel, or do I have to fulfill my life, like this other way, all the ways, instead of just on a show, not just, just on a show. So if we can cut time, on any actor and changing their definition of what a working actor is, or what a successful actor is, then I'm here for it. I'm here for that, because I don't think there has been one yet. We don't know if it'll happen. But one yet thing that I've been like, this is the thing I've been waiting for, and it's made me completely happy.
Right. And even if it does come, it's going to pass, and there's going to be another time when it's not there. And where are you then? Right. So we get distracted by that whole cycle. And so I think that you're a success if you are living into your best self every day, if you're showing up for your family and friends, if you're paying the bills and you're making ends meet, and you're being kind and good and helpful to the society we live in, and you're celebrating your art and you're being creative every day, however that is, however you're making it work, if you're seriously working at it every day, you are right now living a successful life. And that's a mindset change that is huge for when you walk your life. If you're living your life from a place of, I'm not successful, this is tough, this is hard, it's victim-y, right? Champion is much more sexy and interesting as far as I'm concerned, right? And I'm a champion in this situation. I know how to do this. If you're living into your best self and you're living a happy life right now, even though you might not be where you want to be eventually in the status of your career, then you're a success right now. And that makes a difference. People see success. They know it. They can smell success on someone. If you're walking around all frustrated and angry, they can smell that too. Right. Yeah. So how you live and who you are as you're living, people understand that, and they see it, and they're attracted to it or repelled by it. Right.
And think bigger speak, that is the vibration that you're on. right? That's what I tell everybody, right? What vibration, what frequency are we on right now? And what are you calling into that? And it is really important that we think we can cover up, a bad day, which we shouldn't. I'm just having a bad, but I'm great. Like, I'm actually doing okay, or maybe I'm not doing okay. But just remember the frequency, because that really, 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 really is important. And I think it does seep out into your self tapes. I think it does seep out into your meetings, and everybody's like, no, but I think I'm covering it really well. So it definitely, you're in our world, the frequency matters. It absolutely matters. And I always love that you say that you're building champions here. That is something that, that's something from the book.
Yeah.
Well,
I believe it
came from you first, but
thank you. I believe that, right? Like, because we've done it. Right.
Yeah.
And we continue to do it. And so it's a really nice part of, after having been an actor myself for 20 years in New York, I know what you guys are going through. Right. Yeah. I know what these young actors are going through. I've been in those classrooms. I've been in those meetings. I've been rejected. I've had the part and had it taken away from me. I've shot the movie. I've been cut out of it. Like, I've been through all of the hardships that you can throw at somebody in this industry. And I witnessed a lot of other hardships from all of my clients and my friends that have been in the industry. So it's part of it. It's part of living in it and being part of it and living it truthfully. Yeah. And understanding it and seeing it as a clear picture and being your best at it. However you are today is being your best at it. But it takes effort, it takes discipline, it takes focus, right? And as long as people are willing to do that and to work hard towards it, there's generally a response. And I believe that a victim is one that's more willing to say, oh, this sucks. Oh, this hurts. This is hard. This is hard. And when you grow up in that, you get a lot of attention from mom and dad for that, oh, poor you, right? And then you get used to that, and then you want more of it. And that doesn't do well in Hollywood.
It actually doesn't fly well with you. I'll out myself here that I was on my way to victimhood with you when I didn't book something recently that we had talked about, and we were on hold for a couple of months, and I didn't book it. And as I was sitting in class, I bet you could just see DaJuan shrinking, and you looked over at me. You was like, don't do it. This is a good thing. You were like, this is a good thing. And you just went automatically. And I didn't say anything. I didn't, because I'm very aware of the things that I come out of my mouth, right? Because they go right back into my ears and they permeate other people. I'm very aware of that. But I'm also in those moments, sometimes I am doing warfare on the thoughts that are happening in my head. And so, but I think you could see that, and you were just like, no, do not go down that road. Do you worry about, not me, but us actors, sometimes when those near misses come in and that we're gonna turn to the negative. I think you have a phono in here, so I guess you do.
Yeah.
Right? But did you see that on my face and you're like, don't?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I definitely saw it. I felt it from you too. I felt it, and and I feel it for you. I was disappointed for you as well. So, but as your coach, I know that generally those disappointments are followed by a really good, happy moment. So generally those things that when you get really close on something, that's really good. That's really good news. I mean, it doesn't feel like it, but it is really good news. Your team has a lot to talk about. People have a lot to talk about when they talk to casting directors. It's very good. Casting directors get excited by the fact that you were close on something. Oh, he was close on that. It starts buzz around you. Yeah. So the buzz usually turns into something. And usually when a show finds someone they like they found in you, even if they're not using you right now, there's years to a show. Who knows what they're going to write for you next year, right? Yeah, that's also possible, right? So it could be,
you can see sometimes. I think that's the wonderful thing. I'm a coach, but again, I've said this to you before. I came to you and to your safe space to not be a coach. Right. To not be the teacher that I have to be. I'm just giving it over to you. And that's something I never knew that we needed. When you're on a show, I was like, I don't need to do this anymore. I can tap out. But it was probably a little bit more. I could have leaned in a little more with our time, a little bit different there, which brings me to my next question I was just thinking, you've worked with this, I don't know if we can use the word spectrum, but I mean it in a scale of working actors and maybe newer actors. In your opinion, what are some things that working actors are doing that maybe newer actors who may even listen to this podcast are not and can be doing a little bit more of?
Oof, another good long question. I've got so many answers in my head right now, right? I'm going to go with the first thing,
Okay.
which should maybe be the last thing, but I'm going to go with the first impulse. It's mindset. It's mindset. It's mindset, DaJuan. It really comes down to your mindset. It's beginning actors, intermediate actors, famous people, movie stars, everybody. It's the mindset of how you see the world and how you're thinking about it and how you're leaning into the world. And it's the control of the ego, right? It's the ego, knowing that your ego is talking, allowing your ego to be your ego, because we need it and we appreciate it, but also know when to identify that's ego talk, and I don't really mean that, or I don't really need that in my life. It's leading me into a negative place. So, yes, you can go to class. Yes, you should be making things happen. Yes, you should lean into the relationships that you're building. Yes, all of those things that we can talk about. But ultimately, on a daily basis, it's your mindset that makes a difference in how you're perceived by the people you're around, how they see your work and how you work with them. It all comes down to your mindset can really change your life. And that's really the answer. No matter what level of an artist you are, like, people don't understand how hard it is to be on a TV show. Like, it's really hard and demanding, and you can get really, really wiped out when you're on a show. It's exhausting, and you can lose a lot of time with family and loved ones, and it can become quite a circus when you're on a show. And people don't understand that. And so, they think, oh, well, once I get successful, this will go away. That's not true. Right? It doesn't go away. And there's always something, there's always another challenge, always. And then guess what? You turn 60 and you start losing your memory of lines. And all of a sudden your memory that you've had your whole life starts to go away. And you're still an artist trying to do memorization, and it's getting harder and harder. And it gets embarrassing on sets because you can't remember your lines. Yeah. And, how's that for a challenge until, we finish our careers. So there's never a stop to the growth. There's always those challenges. So your mindset, if you can get it going when you're a young artist, if you can get into the right mindset, it changes everything. Changes your life.
And I still believe this about, that's why I love the mindset. That's why I talk so much about, it in the Think Bigger tribe. But I think making sure you're around the right people too.
Oh,
I think that would, it is so, like, it switches it. And, again, I really love your book, but we'll talk more about it. But there's this part where you say, you're not going to be at the top of your game. You're not going to be at the top of your game if you're out partying or doing drugs or alcohol. And you're like, and it's so funny, Craig, you said, I was thinking, but I've seen those people out there that are at the top of their game doing it. And then very next line, you're like, you might see some of those people out there. And I was like, get out of my head. But I think that's important for me too. That's just a little, interesting piece there. But I think that's important for me because, what I got to see was the people and the what I wanted to bring to my business as an actor, to my company as an actor. I wasn't seeing around those other people, right? And there might be one shooting star that you see there, but the rest of them it seems to me, were like the people who are like, I'm gonna do it. Right. And you just have to be careful in those spaces because, there's a gravitational pull to sameness, everybody. There is a gravitational pull to being the same. And, and it's the reason I quit my job, by the way, when I was bartending and I was on a show, and I quit my job because I looked around just the people who are wonderful. And I'm still, in contact with a lot of them. But I got to see that none of them were doing it. It was this general mindset at the restaurant of like, I'm going to get an agent, I'm going to do all that stuff. And so I just want to throw into the ring there that the people you surround yourself with is incredibly important as well.
Absolutely. Bias is something that happens in our brains as part of that, right? Like, our personal biases can change with the people that are around us. Right. Yeah. And so
what does that mean? I want to know what that means. Like, I don't fully understand that. Like, you know,
so bias is, everybody in the world has their privilege and everybody has their bias, right?
Okay.
But bias is usually something that is communal. It's something like, oh, they're not part of our tribe, we don't trust them. Oh, we don't like that kind of person. No, we're not going to talk to that person because they're from a certain place.
You're blowing my mind.
Right.
I didn't know that
that's part of it, is having that bias. And so what you're talking about is the group mind think.
Yes.
When you're with others, you're going to pick up on biases that they might have, which means, oh, fuck it, let's smoke a joint, and that fuck it, let's smoke a joint might be every night at the restaurant you're working in. And then all of a sudden, 10 years has gone by and you're living in Venice and you ask me, where did my career grow? I mean, I've been asked that by people, and I've watched them disappear into a restaurant, smoking pot every night, and just not having a career. I've watched it happen many times, and it's sad. And sometimes they wake up and come back and say, hey, I lost you. I got to get back to work, but sometimes they don't. Right. So that bias of a group mentality, that is something that it's a brain thing. It's our brains do it. We do it together as a group. We bias up together. It's a safety thing. It's a survival thing that our brains do. So yeah, it's part of it.
Okay. All right. Listen, we're going to get into the book. I've been talking about this and I love the bias. And I was about to go down another tangent on that because I remember I had a casting director on who had just said that she does not believe that a lot of actors that work at restaurants actually make it and get out of the restaurant industry. Because of what you're saying. You put it more eloquently, but she was saying, I don't usually see so many of them make it out because they're in that bias. I call it the cult of average. You're in that.
It's a good term for it. Yeah. Because it's the lowest, because you circle the lowest common denominator, right? As opposed to spinning up to the highest common denominator. Right.
I love that. There's something in your book that I want to make sure that I, point out, that you talk about, that they are the two most critical questions that every actor must ask. And so I'm fascinated by these two, right? And so I just wanted you to talk about your two critical questions that every actor must ask, the action. Oh, sorry, I'm telling. Let's talk about those questions right there.
Okay, great. So there's two important questions. I think that I tell my actors, I never want you in front of any camera or any kind of audition if you don't know the answer to these two questions.
Yeah.
Now they come out of the motivational section. When you talk about motivating, what is motivating your character? There's 5 big questions that I think that belong in the motivation. What is my overall objective? What is my action to achieve that objective? What is my want? What is my dream scenario? That's the want. What do I need, which is my bare minimum? And what am I looking for in the other actor's eyes? Now, in those 5 questions, the 2 that are the most important to me are number 2 and number 5. What is my action in the scene? And what am I looking for in the other actor's eyes? And the reason that I do that is human behavior, real human behavior has that process going on all the time. You are always doing something and you are always looking for something from the other person. Right? The scene between us today, I'm not watching myself, I'm watching you. I'm connecting with you, we're talking to each other. It's a cycle of energy that is under every single conversation human beings have. Whether you're ordering a coffee at a Starbucks or calling your mom to check in and see how she's doing, right? Yeah. Every conversation, you have an action inside that and you have a need inside that. So that's a human basic function of all human beings at all times, right? Just like human beings are assessing, we assess through the day the information that's coming in through our senses, right? And we assess what's going on and we choose to go this, we choose to do this. So if you're being a real person in front of a camera, then you've got to be really assessing and thinking about things, but you've also got to be doing an action and a need. So this is just straight up human behavior. So that's why I think those questions are so important, because that is underneath everything. And if you don't know what you're doing, and question 5.2 is the most important of all. Like it's if you don't know what your action is in the scene, and I'm not talking about physical action. Physical action can be part of it, but really we're talking about the emotional action. What are you doing? And if you don't know that, then you won't be doing anything. And if you're not doing anything, then you're not doing anything. And it's really empty, right? And then the second part of what are you looking for in the other actor's eyes, that's really important, because actors tend to watch themselves. And you can't blame us. We've got lights on us and a crew on us and a video village, and there's hair and makeup, and everybody's watching us. So of course we're going to watch ourselves, right? But really truthful human behavior, you don't watch yourself. You're watching the other person. You're leaning into the other person's eyes, and you're looking for something in their eyes. And when you see that, when you get that, then you move on to the next thing, right? And so that's just a thing that's running in human beings all the time. So we have to have that running in us as human beings living truthfully under the imaginary circumstances.
Yeah. I want to apologize that I am not, plugging Craig's book as well as I should, because I'm not a plugger. I'm not a plugger, but I just
we're having a great time.
I forgot to just say, again,
I'm not a plugger. I'm not a plugger either.
What do we do?
I'm not plugging.
Right. I didn't set it up properly, as but I just jumped in because I have so many questions I want to ask, from it that I don't ask because we're in class time. And so I have you, and I was like, okay, I got to get these questions in. But it's you break this up, the actor's mindset, into 3 different pieces: the craft, the discipline, and the business. And it's all in here inside of the book. So all right, that was my plug. You guys check it out. I'm gonna get back to my questions because it's my podcast. And I want to get those things answered. It's very interesting. When I started working with you, one of the big things that I break down for my actors, Craig, are it's kind of like a little bit of a twist on a what do you call it? A acronym. It's thinking, feeling, doing, saying. It's like what your thoughts do. You're thinking, you're feeling, what you're saying, and that's what you're doing. And I switched it around to what we're thinking in a scene. The first part of that, get out of your head, right? Where you're doing everything that, like, what's the given circumstances? Who are the relationship? What's the fact? That's what we do in that thinking part. Then we get in the feeling. What do you feel about this scene? Because we as actors, I think we stop asking ourselves. We stop at the thinking part, and it's like, what do they want? What does Craig want to see from me? The guru, your teacher, what do the casting directors want? And so when you get back into feeling, you get to ask all of those questions. What do I think about this scene? What do I believe? And I think that's like some good stuff of like what nobody else is going to bring to this. Like, what do you feel? What do you want in this? And then we get into the doing part, which is very similar to your, what are you doing? What are we doing? What are we actually like? What's your need? But I never put in there, and I'm saying this out loud, the other eyes, like, the other character's eyes. And it's such a deeper part of acting that I love. And, also you are big on going deep. I'm gonna F this up. Thou who goes deepest.
Those who go deepest win.
Yeah, I tried, you all.
Yeah, I like the thou though. Thou is that's very biblical.
But
thou who goes deepest.
And then we
winneth.
Get into, I tried.
No, you're winneth. You're winnething.
I'm winnething. And then we get to saying, because I feel like I always put that. So it's the thinking, feeling, doing, saying last, because I think once you do all this work, you get to saying, it'll fall into place. But I think what actors want to do is go to saying first, and they cut all those other things out. And I don't think what I've learned as a working actor, as an artist, is that everybody is going to say the same lines. So let's do this other work.
yeah. And it's easy, really. It's easy it's easy to learn lines and say them. I mean, that's the easy part, right?
Right.
It's the human element that you're playing with. It's the Play-Doh inside your heart that you're working with, right? Like that's the hard part. It's getting yourself lined up so that when you do need to access those emotions, they're there for you. When you do need to hit that mark, you can do it. When you understand when the pressure's on, when the game is hot, you're able to play. And that's the goal.
Well, one of the things that you always talk about is, if we know this person, this character inside and out, if we get thrown a curveball or something happens in there, we know how to react as that person. We got all this stuff.
You can't go wrong.
Right. Yeah. And it's not like we don't need to appointment it or for you.
Yeah, no. It's, if you, I think Steve Martin said, be so good that they can't deny you. Right. Yeah. And it's the same thing in preparation, like be so prepared that nothing can go wrong. Be so ready. And part of that is even telling yourself, okay, I only got a few hours on this. I'm okay. I've been through many classes. I've done many plays. I've done a lot of whatever work I've done. I'm good. I'm good to go with this. I'm going to trust myself and I'm not going to panic. I'm going to be a real person. I'm going to live truthfully in the moment and I'm going to have fun doing this. Whatever my preparation was, I've got to let go now and just fly through the scene, ski through the scene, parachute through the scene, whatever metaphor is working for you. Like it's about being free and in discovery as the scene's going by. That's what it's all about. Being in the moment of discovery is one of the biggest things, one of the biggest secrets to people booking. People that are in their heads and making appointments, it slows things down and it makes things difficult and you're pushing and pulling. Man, when you're free, people love it. People love to watch when people are free. It's beautiful because it's inspired and it's coming out of you in a way that you didn't plan. And it's organic and truthful to the character because you've done your homework. And then and that's the highest high, right? Like that's when we get hooked that's the drug is right there.
I give myself grace, again, from working as much as I've worked, but also working with you to just be a little messy. You know what I mean?
Good.
To just be not hold on to the line so hard. If a newer actor, you might be listening to this. I'm not saying don't learn your lines. It's just sometimes I was holding so like dear life to the words instead of into the character or this life we've created or knowing all the action and doing and stuff like that. But I got a little bit of a bone to pick with you because I know we haven't known each other long. 5-6 years is a drop in the bucket, but I feel like this chapter in your mindset chapter, you wrote about me and I'm going to just read it. And it's like a little chunk. And I
write about you?
I don't, okay. I feel like my name's not in it, but I feel like I wrote a question about me.
It could be you. It could be anybody though, too. Like there's a lot of people.
Probably me.
So go ahead with
me, everybody.
Okay, good. Okay.
All right. So if anybody's looking at this is on page 83 and it's don't get too in your head. It's easy to think too much. Your goal is to be technically precise and yet emotionally spontaneous. All the lessons you learn, all the advice you get, all the information you observe, you must put to use in service of the work. And an oven turns a dozen ingredients stirred together in a mixing bowl into a delicious cake. The heat of performance turns all that you've learned into a living, breathing, full, realized character. And I was like, he knows I get heady. He knows is this about me? So I guess the real question is here, is who's this about?
Well, the real question is it about you?
Oh my God, you can't do this. It's like a Carly Simon song. Who is this song about?
Right. Who's this about? Right. But if you feel that it is about you, then take that lesson and try to, approach, we've all got issues. We all do things. We all have whatever it is, not problems, but things that don't help, right? Things that distract or take us away from our focus. So if you feel like there is something like that going on, and we can all get in our heads. I mean, we can get very heady, right? Because of course we can. We're going to think about it and think about it and think about it. The point is, eventually you got to let go of that head work. You've got to be a person that is living right now in this moment, going through what they're going through, and it doesn't matter about what DaJuan had for breakfast. That does not matter here. What matters is what the character had for breakfast, right? And you have to be someone. That's your job. Your job is to be that person, and that's something too that might be helpful to your listeners. There's a lot of young actors that feel like they have to do it a certain way. It has to be specific. It has to fit through this. Like it's a lock and key. You've got to go through it. And so I'm gonna move this scene to be exactly the way I feel that it has to be perfect for the casting directors. But that's just an idea that you thought of. It's not even an idea it's not free and being discovered. It is something that you created and said, oh, I think it has to go this way. And you make appointments and it's dead. There's no heart, there's no inspiration, there's no discovery, there's no fun, there's no playfulness, there's no joy. And we have joy as actors, when there's a dead dog, let's enjoy the dead dog, right? Like we enjoy feeling the feels. That's part of being an actor. Yeah. So my point is that if you are always stuck in your head and you're not allowing yourself to fly free, In the casting offices, I think that there is probably, I would guess, like I'm thinking about, in submission land, about 80% of the submissions that come in are probably actors that are trying to do it right.
Yeah.
As opposed to actors that are trying, or that are just being the character, that
That's
know
exactly
that they're not.
That's
Right,
exactly where I was. Yeah.
Yeah. Like don't do anything. Don't try to be right. Try to be the character. Don't even try. Just be the character. Just be the character. And if you are the character in your version of the character, however it is, then you're going to be alive and in the moment and beautiful and exciting and fun to watch and interesting, and things will happen that you don't expect. You don't know where we're going. It's fun. It's alive. Yeah. And that's just nothing but fun, and if nothing else, you're going to win the room.
I think that's where I got into the feeling section of, I started taking me out of the equation, because I started realizing I know what they want. I think I know what they want. They want X when they really wanted to see what you could bring to it. So I hear that so much. I'm just gonna, if I may, read this last little passage that I think is so great, because I want you to do a Craig chat for my people.
All right.
And
all right.
I thought this was just so beautiful, Craig. And if I may, it says, it's a chapter that you talk about, chapter 10. It's not your job to be a good actor. And at first I was like, what does he mean by that? And you went on to say, when you go into an audition, it's not your job to be a good actor. I'm going to say it again so you really understand the important note. Understanding it can change your career. It's not your job to be a good actor. And then on the following page, you say, it's your job to be the character. That's it. Just the character. I was just, we are in a space where we're told that's what we have to do, is be a good, smart actor. But if we could just, one of my new sayings is stop chasing bookings and start chasing characters.
Absolutely. Right on. Right?
And that's a shift from, we talked about that last night. I know I could go after this booking, but what's more exciting to me is to really show this guy, show me this way. And so I love that you say that, like, you don't have to be a good actor. Well, what are you interpreting? What did you mean by that? Because I know how I interpreted it. I just said,
well, look, I think, I just, where I ended with 80% and 20%, like, I think in a casting office, when an actor comes in and is trying, whatever an actor brings into the room in a self-tape too, whatever they bring in, whatever they send in, if you're worried about being good, that's what they see. If you're worried about being smart, that's what they see. If you're worried about being sexy or funny or to do the beats right, if you're trying to prove to your agents that you can get good feedback, if you're trying to show mom and dad that you belong in the industry, all of that heavy stuff that goes on, that's what casting sees. Whatever you bring in, that's what they see. And it's not something that's in the lines. Obviously, it comes through in behavior. It comes through in a voice. It comes through in the way that you actually live and breathe.
Hold on, Craig. Right? Pause. Whatever you bring in, casting sees.
Yep.
I want to just slow that down, because you were just like on a jam there. But you think about that. What I also heard is, if we bring in a deep character, if we're fully actualized 3-dimensional character, they also see that as well. Whatever you bring in, casting. And so I'm bringing that's what they anxiety. See. Oh, keep going. Wow.
Only bring in anxiety if the character has anxiety. Right. Yeah. And one of the things, people say, well, how do I handle nerves, or how do I handle anything that's going wrong?
In the book.
Well, yeah, exactly. We turn everything around exactly and make everything make us better. Right. Like that's the Craig chat, right? Like that's the big lesson is take negatives and turn them into positives. It's something like, if I had a piece of lint, like a long string from somebody's, something on my knee, and I wanted to push it off my knee, I could push that string up and it would get all bunched up underneath my fingers. It'd get all bundled up, maybe knotted up. And at the end, when I got to the end, it would just be this bundle of little, and then I could throw it away, right? Or I could just pull the string from this end, or pull it quickly without pushing it. I can just pull the string and it comes off the knee, and then you just throw it out easily. You don't have to get it all bunched up underneath. a lot of actors, when they're auditioning, are pushing that string and getting it punched underneath. And they're not just doing the very simple thing, which is to just be the character. You don't have to be good. You don't have to prove everything. Just pull the string the other way. And you know what happens when you are the character? You are good. You do book. You do get responses. Your agents do hear things. You do prove to people that you belong in the industry because you're thinking the right way. It's about the mindset.
It's about the work. It's about the work. It's about the mind.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, Craig. I mean, he waited.
It's so fun.
To the end to give us. And now I have it's just, it feels so simple, right?
Yeah. And that exactly how I want it to feel for you, right? It should be simple. We want to, and you have to work your way around to the simplicity. But if you work hard enough, at the end, it's just simply be the character. And, you know, I see it a lot in my actors when they turn 45, 50, they stop caring. Right. They stop worrying about it. Things, they start going, oh, fuck it. I do not care. Whatever. You know, like they just like, and they go in, they're like, look, I'm going to bring who I am. I know who I am. I've been working on who, you know, everybody knows what I do. I know what I do. I'm going to bring me. I'm going to be my best, but I'm just going to bring me and I'm going to let it be. And all of a sudden you see people booking and booking and booking and booking in a way that they've never booked before, because they're not pushing, they're not pressing, they're not pulling, they're not desperate, they're not working hard to show everybody everything. They're relaxing. And there's a little bit of, if you don't give a flying, then it's a good thing, right? Like if you don't care, it's kind of good sometimes to not care. It's kind of good to be like, you know, like think about the things that you've auditioned for. And I know everybody's auditioned for something that they really don't want, but you do the audition anyway. Think about how free that is. That is so free and so fun. Or like, you know, if you're in class and you're in the pink chair here and you're doing it the third or fourth time, all of a sudden you stop caring. And all of a sudden the good work comes, right? There's something about control that we use over ourselves to want to be the best we can be that is actually damaging us. And so you have to let that control go. You have to allow it to leave. And you have to practice that because it's not something that's easy to do. I meditate. You know, some people run, some people work out, some people do whatever they do. Meditation for me really helps me release my ego brain. And it's always helped me get to that place where I can shut up, Craig, go away, go away, go away. You're not going to help me now. I've got to be Hamlet, you know, I've got to do something else, right? So it's letting that control and learning how you control yourself and stopping yourself from doing that.
Yeah, so good. That's so good. You know, it's a lot easier, harder than it sounds. I think, you know, letting it go. Craig, I know we're out of time and I usually ask you for a Craig chat. And I just wondered if that was the Craig chat, if that was so beautiful. And
well, it is part of one of the Craig chats for sure. You know, look, we can end, you know, I'm always looking for integrity and substance. Right? Like integrity, to be an artist of integrity and substance, to handle yourself with grace and dignity. You know, these are words that we live by because they're great words. And integrity, artistic integrity, personal integrity, substance, that you bring your heart and you're not just throwing, you know, something light and silly. You know, those words really matter. And so, you know, ultimately the mindset, making everything make you better, that stuff is all what it really all comes down to. And how do you live into being your best self on a regular basis and admitting that you're flawed and admitting that you're funny and admitting that you're wrong, you know, admitting all those good things about ourselves that we feel like we shouldn't. But there's a lot of richness in there and there's a lot of goodness in that practice of allowing yourself to be the human being. And it allows you also to open up to characters that you're playing in a beautiful way as well. But the mindset of making yourself better, the mindset of living into being the free artist that you can be, that's really the goal overall.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Craig. I feel bad that I ghosted you for that little bit of time. Everybody, I'll talk about that in the D12 shot, but I've worked it out. Craig was, you know, he's just, I had some teacher issues.
It's nothing at all. No, it's, you know, really seriously, I'm not the kind of person that covets clients. You know, I want my clients to succeed. And so whatever that means, if they need to go study with somebody else, go study with somebody else, right? Like I don't hold people that way. It's not, I don't think that that's healthy. And I don't think that that helps my clients. My clients need to know that they work with me. And if there's somebody else, I'll send you to somebody else and get you some other, other influence that's going to do things a different way. Great, good. As long as you're succeeding, that's our goal, right?
To be clear, everybody, I didn't go work with somebody else. I had
no, you didn't.
Right?
But if you did, I wouldn't be, I wouldn't be butthurt. I really wouldn't. It's like, it's part of the business. I want you to succeed. That's my base.
What's that on your desk that I can see down there? Does it look, what is that? Is that a book? Do you have a book down there that
here
on your desk? I mean, just hold it up. You wrote this book called The Actor's Mindset. Can you
that.
Is there a little I am helping my teacher who he's not good at promoting at all.
Clueless. Yeah. Oh yeah. You can get it anywhere. Get it anywhere. I don't know where you get it. Whatever,
Oh my gosh, you guys. Thank you so much, Craig.
Thank you, buddy.
So much to say. How good was that episode? How good was that last 15, 20 minutes was fantastic. So much to say. I just want to go on record here and say that about ghosting Craig, that I ghosted Craig because I started to feel so connected to him. And full transparency, like I said in so many podcast episodes before this, that my last teacher that I felt this connected to committed suicide. And it nearly broke me. I'll just be honest. It nearly broke me, and I think, started off a depression that I didn't even know was there for a very long time. And so, no, I don't think there was anything I could have done to prevent Stan's death at all. I just, I don't think I'm that powerful. I'm just saying it rocked me and turned my world upside down, sideways, inside out for a while. And so, when I felt this way about Craig, about a teacher who saw me and who really championed the inner artist in me and me as a person, it kind of scared me. It scared me. And I think Craig is a rare bird that popped into my life at the right time. And I'm just giddy to share him. And I just wanted to clear up the ghosting about him. I ghosted him because, sometimes you get a little scared and you just got to be honest about that. But this guy, when Craig said, whatever you bring into the room, that's what casting sees, I just about fell out of my chair. Why didn't I have this information years ago? Why didn't I know this in this way years ago? Whatever you bring to your self-tapes, that's what casting sees. You bring in, I need the book anxiety, they see it. You bring in, no one books off of self-tapes attitude, boom, they see it. You bring in, I don't really want to be here or do this tape, yup, busted. They truly can see it. This is the most tangible explanation for that saying. Casting can tell when you're off or when you're desperate, when you bring desperation into the room or when you don't want to be there. This made so much sense to me. Because we're all energy. Even though we think we are covering it up, even though we think we are covering up our bad day or being cut off in traffic, we are. It's all energy. And your energy is so strong. Ooh, I was blown away. But here's a D12 shot. You can change that. You have absolute control over this part. By putting your focus back on the work, on the craft, diving deep into your characters. You heard me, and I'll say it again. Stop chasing these bookings and start chasing these characters. Dive deep into these characters. You can bring in a fully actualized character to your self-tape that has your personal stamp on it. Not what you think casting wants, but what you and this soul connection of a character to this character, what you all have agreed upon. It's just amazing to me to end the season here. Like, how did that happen? Get out there, go out there and live full characters,
full three-dimensional characters whose life didn't just start when the first line starts on the page. Play full out because they deserve to come alive with you. You control this. You get to bring this into the room. And if you don't know how to do that, and if you need a little help, that's why I created Think Bigger Coaching for you. Jump into the Bookers Club. Jump into Self-Tapes at Book. Join a power group. Get one-on-one coaching. You have this at your disposal. Don't be me. Don't be me circa 20 years ago that didn't really understand that when I was walking into Junie Laurie Johnson's office, when I was walking into Linda Lowy's office, when I was walking into Jesse Disla's office, when I was walking into those big offices, I didn't know that I was bringing in desperation with me. Why am I not booking, DaJuan? Why are you not booking? The anxiety of I got to pay those bills. Thank you for a great season. I am so full. I'm so full and thankful of this season. Make sure you are following me on the socials because I will still be there. And I just want to say, please follow me. Please subscribe. Tell your friends about me. I always ask about just one friend to share it with. And I will see you back for season 4. Don't forget to please subscribe and leave a review. Leave a review. And I'll see you for season 4 of the Think Bigger Actors podcast.